keep up. Please don't crash. That's 5-0 on your ass. Don't get stuck. My shit blasting up. Window tinted, can't get caught. My bitch bad, sport more leave you on your ass. Taking up.
Yeah. What's the deal, everybody, man? This is Ricky Montoya checking in, aka the fullest of all bears, and you are now tuned in to I Think You're My Driver podcast, man. So thank you so much to everybody that has tuned in with me thus far. Of course, as always, if you are not already following me, that at itymd.podcast is going to be on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music Podcasts, and everywhere else that you can enjoy podcasts at, man. And of course, if you do have any stories that you would like to share with the Foo Bear yourself, we got an email that's on file, which is itymd.podcast, which is at gmail.com, man. So listen, I got something special for y'all here for y'all today, man. Got a couple stories that are lined up here, man. And, you know, like I always say, I'm always dropping these ads. I'm always dropping this email because I want you guys to share stories. And I got somebody here today who is going to be sharing some stories here with us, man. So, go ahead and stay tuned with them. Today's episode is episode 47. And episode 47 is going to be called, Where Are You Taking Me? Because, listen to me, bro. When I tell you, when it comes to doing Uber and Lyft or just going on your destination, there's a point in time where you start to look at these maps bro, where are you taking me, my guy? And I understand sometimes if you're not familiar with the area that you are going to, 9 times out of 10, you are going to get fixated on what the directions give you. But in all honesty, sometimes those directions do not always give you the best routes in order to get to your destination too. So go ahead and take that with a grain of salt and just make sure that you are slightly somewhat aware of your surroundings, or you could just make sure that you're actually checking out the route before you actually get on the route. Because if there's one thing that I learned when it comes to being an adult, being a dad, and you're trying to plan out road trips and stuff like that, it's always a good thing. And you get some cool dad points from your wife whenever you're every such and such miles, we're going to stop at a gas station to make sure that we're always gassing up in this car. So give or take every 2 to 3 hours on a 10-hour drive, this is what we're going to do. It's going to get you some cool points. So, take that how you will, man. But listen, man, I'm going to take you guys back to whenever I first moved to Oklahoma, my first 2 years, man. So my wife, she has a birthday that is in October the 10th to be specific, because she is a 10 out of 10, man. So yeah. So basically, for those of you guys who are listening and other people who are joining in on the conversation, man, we know that October usually tends to be the spooky month. Everybody always looks forward to fall when it comes to going to pumpkin patches, whether you're going to haunted houses or whether your thing is just putting on a sweater and knowing that you could take a good ass picture under somebody's tree, man. So whatever your thing is, that's where we're kind of following in line with. My wife, on the other hand, she's not really big on the whole haunted houses. Neither am I. So it worked out perfectly. But at this time in this story, she actually was telling me how she wanted to go and visit a real pumpkin farm. And she was like, I've never really been to a pumpkin farm. We went to the one that's out here local to the town, which is called Arcadia Pumpkin Patch or something like that. And she was like, but I want to go and travel to a place. So in my mind, I was like, okay, cool. I'm about to get some cool points. It's her birthday coming up. And I think she was about to turn 21, if I'm not mistaken. So, we're trying to make this birthday as eventful as possible. So literally, I was like, all right, let me do my Google searches. Let me go ahead. I'm like, all right, pumpkin patch. And I'm basically just scrolling down Google, just okay, she says she's okay. She doesn't matter if it takes us, an hour to get there. You just want the experience of going to a real pumpkin patch. Okay, cool. So I scroll on Google because, sometimes you Google pumpkin patch near you and it's going to give you the closest one. I was like, nah, forget that. I want to travel. I want us to be on the road. That way we could be telling stories to each other, whatever the case. So I found this pumpkin farm, Grider Pumpkin Farm, to be specific, out here in Oklahoma. So shout out to you guys. They're temporary closed for a reason, but we'll get into that, man. So I found this place, Grider Farm, man. And when I'm telling her about it, I was like, oh, perfect. I found this place out here. It's about 47 miles. So driving is like 45 minutes to an hour. She's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I like that idea because it's perfect that we're going to be able to travel. She's like, oh my goodness, like, look at you. You were able to find this idea and like put this together for us. And I was like, yeah, baby, I'm doing everything that I can because I want your birthday to be special, man. I want your birthday to be special. So day comes. We get in my car, we get gassed up because I'm like, okay, it's about 40 miles, So I'm like, let's plan a road trip. We go to the gas station, we get us some candy, we get us some gum, a little pretzels, some fruit, and some water. We're getting ready to hit the road, man. So we get on the road, and like I say, it's about 40 miles outside of where we lived at the time. So basically, we're going all the way up the freeway. We're going up 35, going towards Guthrie. Country as ever, right? First exit that it has us taking. As we're going down the road, like I say, it's about 40 miles outside of where we were. And as we're driving towards the destination, we're going down 35 and it tells us to say, hey, you're going to get off on this exit going towards Guthrie. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that means, it's going to have us going down, those little like farm to market roads or, whatever the case. Like I didn't really look at the map prior to even taking this route to begin with. So I did not know what I was getting myself into. So it lets you know that, hey, if you are going to make a long distance destination trip, please, bro, check out that road. Google Maps has a satellite feature for a reason, but I am getting way off topic. So to swing this back to the story, we get off on the exit. We're going towards Guthrie. So I was like, all right, cool. And, it has us going down this like long little curved road. And, as we're going down the curved road, it's telling us like, hey, like in a quarter of a mile, you're going to be making a left turn. So I was like, okay, cool. And so, her being in the passenger, she's got my phone and she's like telling me like, hey, make sure you keep a heads up because we're going to make a turn here coming up soon. So she's like, all right, like here's a turn. So we go and make the stop. Mind you, where we are driving towards, it's not asphalt anymore. It was a gravel road, but it kind of had a little bit of, pavement going with the way that the gravel was. So I wasn't super upset about it, but I was like, whatever, this is all for her birthday. That's what I'm thinking. Like, this is for her birthday. I have to take out like whatever I'm thinking and whatever I'm assuming and trying not to like psych myself out of it because it is for her birthday. I put it together. But also at the same time, when you're the driver and you're the man, like you can't be like, oh, I don't know about this road. So I was like, nah, like, okay, let me go ahead and jump on this road. So we go ahead and make this left turn. We make this left turn to get on the gravel. And as we're driving up this little hill to get to the gravel, we notice that as soon as we get to the top of the hill, it's just a long ass road. And I'm telling you, bro, we stayed on this road for probably about 12 miles, bro. So as we're driving down this road, like I say, it's about a 12-mile drive that we have to take down this straight shot road. And the further that we're going down this road, it started to become less and less gravel. And I'm not knowing what to expect, but I just know that I'm in the country and my car is not prepared to do it, but it's all for her birthday is what I'm thinking about at the end of the day. So as we're coming down this gravel road, it starts to turn into dirt and grass. So I was like, huh, okay. And she's like looking at me like, excuse me, where are you taking me? And I was like, oh, it's for your birthday. The pumpkin patch is supposed to be down here. And by the time, it switches from gravel to dirt, there's a drop in the road. For most cars, it's not going to feel the difference in the drop. But being that I drove a sedan, a small size sedan, I felt every road change as we were making our way to our destination, bro. So like I say, this road starts to turn to dirt. And this is not paved road because we're in the country. The people pave it on their own with their tires of their cars. That's the pavement that they use. So there was at least a little bit of tracks that I could follow on, but it wasn't still like a great way. And I was really trying to make this drive just all for her birthday to make her happy. And literally, as we're driving down this dirt road, it was starting to get narrower and narrower more and more that we started to drive down this road. And out of nowhere, the more narrow that this road got, the more that it started to turn into one single road that they obviously dug in dirt to be higher than the rest of the houses. And literally, bro, the deeper and deeper that we got down this road, the road started to divide. It's not just a flat paved surface of dirt at this point. It starts to turn into where trucks were driving to where there was a little bit of an indentation of the tires while the middle of the road is starting to get higher and higher. Like I say, I am driving a small size sedan, so my car is feeling every bit of it. Mind you, I have my wife in the passenger seat, And she's supposed to be, my passenger director, my passenger princess, and I'm supposed to be getting this taken care of. In her mind, I know in that moment that she was freaking out the entire time because it's like, where are you taking me? We're going down this road. And I remember, like, as we're going down the road and the roads start to get more bumpy and starting to feel like the middle of the road start to hit my car a little bit more, the amount of conversation went from us talking nonstop to not saying shit for like 10 minutes straight because we were just like so focused and scared, not knowing what we were about to get ourselves into. So as we're still driving down this road, it's a dirt road and it's at least 10, 12 miles that we're having to drive down this road. And the whole time she's like, I could see she is freaking out in the passenger seat, but she's not saying a word. And that's when you know that you have real fear, when you're silent. Cause she was silent, bro. And like you could literally hear every bit of wind gusts smacking my window, smacking my door. Like, bro, it was silent. And I know we were both thinking the same thing as we're driving down this road, that it's like, bro, it's going to be such a horrible thing if we're driving down this road. And since it's a one-way road that's enough to fit one car, if a car is coming this way, how are we going to divert to the side? And it ended up becoming a question at some point, but she was like, no, let me not put that out there. Let me not put that out there because I'm already freaking out enough as it is. I don't know where we are. Like, as you can see, and she's like looking at her phone, like my phone is starting to lose service. My data is gone. It's saying searching. And I was like, no, no way. That's not the case. And I pull out my phone. I said, look, take it, my phone. My phone said, what is it? It was like searching, but it has like, there's like another status on your phone when they're trying to find service. And it told me that status. And that's when I realized, like, bro, we are in the middle of nowhere. And we still have about 4 miles of road that we are still having to drive down. So the further and further that we start to get down this road, luckily, thank God, my wife and I, did not run into another car that was coming the opposite direction towards us. So we got to make sure that we could stay straight and narrow going down this path. Now, as we get towards the end of this road of this 10-mile excursion to get to this pumpkin patch, the road finally starts to get normal and it starts to finally turn into real asphalt. And literally, as soon as we dip down, we're like, whoa, yeah, okay. And we're like, it's okay. Everything's going to be all good. And the service cut back on. She's like, okay, we're back in civilization. And all it is like a straight road. And I want to say it's maybe about 100 feet. And as the 100 feet comes to the end of the asphalt, it's a super hard right turn to get down the rest of this road. As we make that turn going down that curve, my wife then tells me like, oh my goodness, we just lost service again. And I was like, what do you mean we lost service? Like, we don't even know where we are. And she was like, well, according to the phone, it said that we're like 6 minutes away. And I was like, okay, so at least we're close enough to this destination. And so as we're going down this road and finally make that turn, no service, 2 cars, tiny sedan in the middle of nowhere, have no idea where we are. We go down the road to this pumpkin patch, so to say. And when I tell you, bro, not a single pumpkin was in sight on this road. Not a single pumpkin was in this field. Not even like a tiny little pumpkin, not a tree, not a plant that was growing pumpkins, no cars, no people, no animals, no tractors, no nothing, bro. The only thing in this field of a pumpkin patch farm was a silo. When I tell you the way that my heart dropped, and as in the moment, I was like, bro, where are we at? And I know in my wife's mind, she was like, why did you bring me out here to this abandoned field? And I know her mind was probably racing at 100 miles an hour faster than my mind was, because I'm sitting here like, bro, I planned out this extravagant birthday to celebrate for you because you said you wanted to go on this pumpkin patch farm, and me be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put this together. Like, I'm gonna make sure that your birthday is this. And it ends up just turning into straight shit. So like, bro, like I say, in the middle of nowhere, driving past this pumpkin patch that has not a single pumpkin in sight, no service on our phones. On both of our phones, we had no service where we were. And so we're like freaking out. And she was like, oh my goodness, like, are we going to get kidnapped out here? And like in the moment, as soon as he said kidnapped, I literally like put my pedal to the metal and like floored the car. Because I was like, bro, we got to get out of here, obviously. And so she was like, it's okay. Just keep driving. And if you keep driving, I have both of our phones in our hands and I'm looking at it. And if one of them gets service, that's when I know that we can go ahead and like, okay, use this one and let's find a way to get back home. And so like, we're freaking out. We go about 7 minutes down the road, still no service whatsoever. I'm going about 50 miles an hour and I'm like freaking out because I'm like, I don't know if there's any police out here. What's the speed limit? She was like, we're in the country, so it's anywhere between like 35 and 50, but I see no signs. And we're just like trying to calm each other down, but at the same time, we're both losing it. And I know for a fact that she was probably pissed because she's like, bro, you were supposed to put together this birthday and I'm counting on you to put all this plans together. And now this is where you bring me out to. And at a moment I could see that like the thoughts are crossing her mind, but she's trying not to be upset because she is freaking out as much as I am. It's not a good thing whenever two negatives are in the car together, trying to figure out the positive route to take. Because as we know, two negatives do not make a positive. But I knew in that moment that I had the responsibility to make sure that I could get us to the destination as safely as possible, that I can do. What was even more ridiculous is that, like I say, we're driving about 7 minutes down the road from where we were passing from this pumpkin patch farm. And as we're still driving down this road, still no service is coming. But my wife in particular is from a town that was not too far away from where we were in this area at this time. So she started to recognize street names as we were going down this long road. And she was like, oh, wait a minute. She was like, that road right there. I recognize the name of that road. Turn right here. She's like, if you just turn right, we'll just keep taking. If we don't get any service, I know that we can take this road. She was like, we're probably a long bit of ways from where I think we are, but I know that this road can get us back to at least a town and I can get us directed to where we can get back home. I know that much. And like, we're in this moment of like, we need to find our way home. I drove her to this pumpkin patch that I thought was going to be the fantastic idea. And literally, let me tell you something to kind of circle back to let you know to really pay attention to that route. Not only did we go down a gravel road that turned to dirt that ended up basically tearing up the bottom of my car for like the next couple of weeks. When I tell you, when I looked up this pumpkin patch on Google, all the reviews were negative. Now, a lot of the times I try my best not to pay attention to reviews, which you learn in life as an adult. Reviews mean everything. But also at the same time, I'm also one of those kind of people to where I'm like, yeah, you may have had a bad negative experience, but I always assume that like people who are leaving these reviews are just Karens. So they're just looking for somebody to listen to. And at that time, because I've grown out of this as an adult and as a father, at that time, I thought people who left bad negative reviews were Karens and Kevins. So they're just looking for somebody to listen to them. And they just needed that little bit of attention because their mommy wasn't, giving them a hug at 7 years old. But, I digress. And all the reviews were nothing but negative reviews. This pumpkin patch had no pumpkins. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and read these together, folks. Let's go ahead and take a moment to read these together because I want you to go ahead and experience this in the same way that I had to read this. Because like I said, this place is still temporarily closed. So yeah, let's go ahead. Grider Farm Pumpkin Patch, temporarily closed to this day. 4.4 reviews. So let's see how real a lot of these ones are here. They always want to give you all the highest ones. Give me the lowest. That's what I want to see. We're going to read this shit together. This was 4 years ago. Wasted almost an hour driving from Guthrie to find the 3-acre corn maze was only about a half an acre and roughly 4 feet tall at best. The pumpkin patch itself was half dead. Very few pumpkins, and the largest pumpkins were 12 inches at best. Total waste of time. Like I say, a Kevin. Like, yeah, you're not going to get the whatever. And this right here, 6 years ago, it is no longer there, just a bunch of empty fields. That review was present whenever I was looking this up, and I think at that time it was a recent review. Being that it was a recent review, I was like, whatever, bro. You guys are just saying whatever. Like, people just love to just talk shit. People love to just say things out the side of their neck. But listen, bro, when you see a Google review, please pay attention. Like, bro, I cannot stress that anymore. Because when I tell you, fool, when you get to reading a lot of these reviews, like I say, I've grown as a person. I've grown as a dad. I've grown just as a man and start to realize that it's like, just because someone leaves a bad review doesn't mean they're just looking for attention. sometimes they are being truthful. Now, of course, you always got to take every review with a grain of salt, and you can't always take everything as a fact. But also at the same time, just because somebody else had a bad experience, don't think that your experience is going to be any better if you see more bad experiences than good, bro. So, yeah, let that be a life lesson to let you know that just because you think that you have this idea put together, make sure you check the details. Make sure you check those reviews. That way, you don't have your wife in the passenger seat looking at you like, is he going to kidnap me? So, yeah, man, bro. Listen, it's one thing that you really got to be very, very mindful of is making sure that you are making the best decisions to get you to your destinations as safely as possible, fool. So moving on from that, bro, I had another story that I ran across whenever I was driving Uber one time, bro. So I picked up this guy, I want to say like on like the west side of the city, which is crazy because I just realized I've had my AirPods in this entire fucking time. What the fuck? I'm leaving that in. And I automatically was like, oh, yeah, this is about to be a lit ass ride because it was a long distance. Now, as I've said in multiple episodes, I have always preferred a long distance ride over a close distance because I get paid more from that ride. Now, of course, there is always cons from whenever you are taking a long distance ride because 9 times out of 10, you are not going to get a passenger to take you back to where you just came from. You may find other passengers that'll get you towards the direction, but most of the time, you are not going to go anywhere near where you came from. So, pick up this guy over here on the west side. And at this time, I want to say him and I were around the same age. So, if I was like 23, he might have been like 20, 21. So, he gets in the car, we're talking it up or whatever. And he goes to tell me, like, yeah, bro. So, right now, we're actually going out to Jones. He's like, we're actually going to Jones because that's where my grandma lives. And he was like, I stay with my grandma, but like I live in the city and go to school in the city. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And so, we're having real general conversation, just kind of just breaking the ice or whatever. Now, whenever I'm driving these Uber and Lyft passengers, I always have music playing in the background, but I try my best not to let it go too loud because if we're having a conversation, that is very rude for you to basically just have music playing as if you're almost ignoring the person. So, as we're driving, my music is shuffling through my playlist, and at this moment, I had a local artist that popped up in my playlist by the name of Stackman Boogie. So one of his songs came on the playlist, and he was like, "Oh shit!" He was like, "You know Stackman?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro." And I mean, at that time, we're on a first name basis, and I was like, "Hell yeah, bro." I was like, I know Stackman, bro." And he was like, "Bro, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like, it's such a small world. Like, bro, I went to school with his little brother. Like, I know his little brother. Like, I don't really like know Stackman, but like, I know his little brother. Like, me and his little brother, like, super cool." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what's up." And so, he got to telling me about like his experience about growing up around his little brother. And that's always like the funny thing about when a local artist from your area happens to get a little bit of a name is that you start to like run into other people that always have to give their story about knowing the person. But 9 times out of 10, you always know somebody who knows someone who's close to him. So it's always funny just hearing those kind of experiences. And that's kind of what he was telling me. And so, from there, he got to tell me, like, yeah, like I say, bro, like I stay out in, my grandma stays out in Jones and I spend like majority of the time, but I actually like go to school in the city. He's like, that's how I kind of know about this kind of stuff. And he started telling me about all these other locals that he listens to and all these people that he hangs out with. I was like, that's kind of cool. He's like, yeah, bro, do you know such and such? You know such and such? Like, yeah, bro, I played basketball with him one time, man. Like back when I was in middle school, back when I was a junior and a sophomore in high school, bro. Like, yeah, I played basketball with him and nah, bro, he been rapping and he been doing this and he been doing that. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's pretty cool. But since it was a long distance ride, I really didn't care. In all honesty, bro, I didn't really care to know about the stories that he knew of connected to be with these kind of people. At the end of the day, I was just concerned about making my 1497 to make this destination trip. So, like I say, we're going out to Jones, Oklahoma, which from that area that I picked him up from was a good 35, 40 minutes. So, for those of you guys who are not from Oklahoma City, bro, Jones, Oklahoma can get very, very dirt road, gravel road in the same way that that pumpkin patch trip can get you, bro. I tell everybody this that's not from Oklahoma City, bro. You go in any direction from the city, 5 miles in any direction, and you are going to end up in the country, bro. Tell me that I'm lying and I'll give you $5, bro. And with that being said, bro, as we're driving and making our way on this destination, bro, we're going down this road and it's this road that it connects off of Western, I think. I don't know. It really doesn't matter. But as we're making this drive and we're going down the road, going towards Jones, it gives a little bit of a divert for us to go around the way. And so he's continuing to talk. And, the more that we're, getting down the road, he's telling me about his experience about living in the city, bouncing back and forth between Jones and Oklahoma City. And as we're driving, it tells me to make this random left turn. And as I'm making this left turn, it's another one of those gravel roads. Completely understandable because we are in the country. Now, as I'm going down the curve of this gravel road, the gravel road stops becoming flat and it starts to curve a little bit more. But the more that it curves, the gravel starts to turn into grass and dirt. And it starts to kind of flatten out a little bit more. But like all other country roads, all the tires from the trucks and the SUV have made their pathways. But of course, whenever it's not a lower car, the middle center of that pathway starts to get higher and higher and higher. Like I said, gravel turned into dirt, which turned into dirt and mud and grass. And literally, as we're going up this little area and the middle of it starts to stop my car, and I'm trying my best not to get stuck in the mud, the thing starts to grab my car and I could feel my car starting to slow down because it was scraping that middle of the dirt and grass so bad. And he was like, oh, snap. Yeah, bro, don't even worry about it, bro. You can go ahead and stop right here. Like, you can go ahead and stop. I could just walk the rest of the way. And I'm like kind of thinking to myself, like, I wasn't going to make the rest of the trip no matter what. So yeah, that's a good idea. And then from there, he was like, bro, that's crazy, bro. I can't believe they sent you this way, bro. They never take anybody this way. This is like the back way to get to my grandma's house, man. Like if I would have known it was going to take you this way, I could have told you to swing around the other way. That shit had me like, you goofy ass bitch. What do you mean? Like, I would have told you, bro, this is your house. You live here. Fuck you mean? Like the directions took you a crazy way. Bro, do you even live here? Like that's the thing that would like really kill me when I would end up in those scenarios where it would take me a different way from what the people were used to taking, is they always had this response of like, I can't believe it took you this way. But if you can't believe that it's taking you this way and you're looking out the front windshield from the back seat, don't you think to like be like, hey, bro, you might want to turn around and go the other way because this way is a little bit, whatever. Give me a heads up and be a good passenger. But also at the same time, he was so excited to tell me about how I know this person and I know this rapper and we play basketball. And bro, I used to play football with such and such little brother and this and that. That everything else just ran out the window because he was so excited to talk about what he wanted to talk about. Now, that right there is a lesson in life of its own, is that sometimes you have to always remind yourself that you don't have the right time to look at the directions in order to get to your destinations. Sometimes you don't have the amount of time to take that time to do that because you're having the passenger and you're trying to get them there as quick as possible. Because sometimes people are on a time crunch. But in the case of where something like that, where you're not on a time crunch and you're just going home to see your grandma at the end of the day, bro, give me a heads up to let me know, hey, bro, this is not the right way that you should be taking. Like, bro, I know we listening to this music and I'm telling you about this, but bro, tell me where we need to go. Like, simple as that, bro. That's the one thing that I really got to understand, is that whenever you're running into a lot of these scenarios of picking up random people, you got to make sure that at a certain extent, you kind of pay attention to the directions, but also take the time out to see like, hey, man, I see the directions is taking me X amount of way over here. Is there a better way that you would know to get us there? A better, more efficient way, so to say. Kind of just making sure that if you're already breaking the ice and there's already that level of comfortability, of course, that could have been a faulting on my part for me to not ask him to be like, hey, I'm not familiar with this area. Something of that sort, to at least give him the sense of like, hey, I'm going to give you not power, but a little sense of control, if that's what you want to use it to be like, hey, give me a better, more efficient way to make sure that I can get us both there safely. And that way I don't end up in a situation to where my car almost gets stuck in the mud, bro. Because when you're getting stuck in the mud, man, that is a situation of its own. If I could put out my my Uno cards in life, bro, there's a couple of cards that I know for a fact I would never choose. I would never choose to get stuck in the mud. I would never choose to get lost in the country and have no service and end up on a gravel road. I would also choose never to end up in an area to where I can run into deers because deers will ruin your car. And they don't have insurance of their own, so who are you going to charge it to? With those situations, those are the three cards on my bingo card that I'm definitely not choosing. And to think that already in this episode, I've already experienced two of those situations, I am not doing that anymore. That was another one of those moments where I was like, why do I do Lyft and Uber? What is the point of me doing this if I'm going to end up in a lot of these situations such as this, bro? So it kind of was like a perfect transition because I have a homie of mine that I used to go to school with who, dude by the name of Chris. He actually does the same thing, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, whatever. He told me a great story about how he got his car stuck in the mud whenever he was trying to make a destination trip, man. So I'm going to let him go ahead and take over so he could tell the rest of this story. So, hey, man. So I seen you post this story about the freaking you driving through the mud, man. Go ahead and give me the rundown of the shit, man. I got you on camera, so just so you know.
Nah, it's all good, bro. So, man, it's a little crazy. So, you know, it's basically when DoorDash and outside your 9 to 5 for extra cash goes wrong.
Facts.
Because, boy, I tell you what. So, basically, I work my regular job, and on the weekends, if I'm feeling up to it, I'll go DoorDash, make some extra money, whatever, do something with my girl, stuff like that.
Right.
So this particular incident, I was trying to meet a goal, and I had got this last order. It was like $26 or something like that, and I was like, I bet.
Run it.
Yeah, right. Let me do that. Boom. Let me take that order. Take the order. Little did I know, because sometimes we see the money before we see the destination or where we picking up from or how far it is.
That's a fact.
So it was like, boom, I accepted it. And I was like, dang, it got me going like 15 miles out this way to the country. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. No worries. So
Right.
I get to heading there, and I probably make it like a mile and a half, bro, away from the customer's address. And mind you, I'm in the middle of nowhere. So boom, DoorDash GPS, I don't know if it be setting you up. I don't know if they just not updated. I don't know if they had the little Google car drive down this road. Like, yep, this is the most efficient way. I don't know what they be thinking, bro. But basically, I took a right, and the road turned. It took me, and it's a normal thing out in the country. They'll take you down a little dirt road or send you in the middle of a field to get to a neighborhood or something, whatever. It's
That's a
not
fact.
uncommon. So boom, this road turns from gravel to dirt and into mud immediately. And I'm like, dang. So I get to the dirt part, and I'm like, dang, this road, like they really got me out here. This person live on the farm, like they gotta be, they needed these Gatorades and whatever else I was delivering. And so boom, I hit the turn. It turned from gravel to dirt to mud real fast. So the mud, I'm like, dang, like I could see the ruts ahead of me of like where trucks was digging in deep.
Oh, for
And
sure.
by this point, I'm already a little bit in too deep. Like I'm like, I ain't no turning around because I already hit the soft, like the mud, the soft part. So I'm like, I'm battling through it. I'm zigzagging and zigging and zagging, and I make it. I'm making it. I'm getting there. I make it like, dang, halfway down this road, and I get stuck. Car gets stuck. I'm like, dang, I'm doing all type of cussing. I'm like, man, I knew it. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And so then I get unstuck, cut the wheels left, right, whatever, and I truck a little bit further, and bro, I probably made it 10. It got to be 10 yards from what appeared to be more solid ground. Like it appeared to be dry dirt. It's starting to be gravelly, and
Right.
I must have, like, right before I made it to there, I hit a badass patch of like mud, and it sent my car like which you saw in the picture, like sent it to the right into like the little ditch, like the little side of the area of the road, and the side was still had a lot of water in it. So that one tire was all bad. Like it was halfway up the rim, and it was all bad, bro. So I'm like, I'm getting mad because I'm like, I'm so close to the solid ground. So for a good probably 5 minutes, I'm trying to, maneuver out of it, trying to get some grip and stuff before I'm like, dang, nah, it ain't happening. I don't want to tear the car up, nothing like that. So
For sure.
I hop out the car, bro. I go and I get on my hunter-gatherer tip and I go start grabbing every type of log, stick, wood, everything I could find to try and put under these tires to get some grip. And it's all bad because the side of the car that's really stuck is like right up into a barbed wire fence, bro.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so it's like it ain't like scratch up the car or nothing, but it's like real close. So I ain't got no type of maneuvering room over there to put sticks under there, do nothing. And it's, mind you, it's deep, it's really muddy, and it's watery. So I'm like, dang. So I do what I can on that side, and I pile up sticks under, and dig out a little bit, get them up under the tire. Still nothing. Can't get no type of grip, no traction, because all the mud is in the, in the ruts of the wheel and everything like that.
For sure.
And it's all bad. So I try for after I get all the sticks, try for another 5 minutes maybe, and all I smell is the smoking of the wood. Like it just like I'm trying to create a fire. So I'm like, dang, I ain't getting no grip, no traction, no nothing.
Burn the rubber.
So, bro, it was all bad. So I'm like, dang, mind you, this is like, out here in Texas, and even, I'm sure Oklahoma and in the South right now, it gets dark earlier in the day. So it's starting to get dark. It's about 5:30. You see the sun start slowly creeping down. I'm like, dang, I'm finna be stuck out here. I'm in the middle of nowhere too. So I get the calling, bro. I called every tow truck, every tow company, every place I could call within like a 20-mile radius of where I was, because I was in the middle of nowhere, so everything was already far away.
Oh.
And I'm like, dang. So I call all of them. Nobody was able to help me. Everybody was like, yeah, our tow truck, it'll probably get stuck because it weighed a certain amount of thousands of tons, whatever. Only thing we can offer you is a piece of heavy equipment. And that's like, bringing a backhoe out there or like an excavator or something. That's going to be mad expensive.
Facts.
And I'm like, that ain't going to work. So I called my girl, and I'm like, I called her once I got stuck, and before I called the tow people, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I'm doing what I can, trying to get these sticks and whatever. But she was like, well, she told me to call the police, call the non-emergency number, because we're in the middle of nowhere. So I'm like, all right. Tell me why I called a non-emergency number, bro, for whatever town I was in, and they was closed.
Ain't that something?
They was closed.
So they're not open on the weekends?
The bro was not open on the weekend. Like Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Like, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, ain't no way, bro.
Dang, that's messed up. So if you need assistance outside of like operation hours, so like you're on your own, buddy.
Yeah, you gotta call you gotta call real 911. I'm like, how's the non-emergency? Everything emergency out here? That's how you know it's no crime out there, or like, I guess it's crime for sure. But it's like they not dealing with that type of non-emergency stuff, I guess. But
yeah, they're used to hearing people steal cows, man, not getting stuck in the mud. What the fuck is we talking about?
Facts. So boom, I call the non-emergency number is closed. I call actual 911. Cause we in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, hey, I tried to call the non-emergency number. It's closed. That's crazy. So I just want to let you know it's not an emergency, but I am in a predicament. I'm out here stuck in the mud. I've called all the tow people. I was wondering if there was like, I don't know, like we in the country, I ain't got no good old country boy with a pickup truck.
Facts.
Somebody that could come out here and help me out. You know what I'm saying? It's getting dark. It's cold. I'm hungry.
Somebody got a 2,500 somewhere.
Bro, somebody got that dually, bro. I know it. And I'm like, man, I need some help. And they're like, well, he tried to give me a phone. The only thing they were able to do was try and give me a phone number to a tow truck company that I already called.
Oh,
and I'm like, is that the one? He's like, yeah. And he gave me another number that was to one that was actually closed already for the day. So that was to no avail. Facts. So the one tow company that I did call, and I was like pleading with, I was like, bro, y'all don't got nobody with a pickup truck, nobody that could, like come help me out, whatever. And he gives me a number to some guy. I don't remember what his name. It was some current. We'll call him Cletus, bro, because it was
Cletus.
it was a real country name, bro. And they was like, call this dude. It won't be as expensive. And he's got a pickup truck, and he might be able to come help you. So they give me the phone number to Cletus, and I call him, and typical, he's like, he sounds exactly how you think he would sound. He's like, hey, he's like, oh, what county road are you on? He's like, oh, I know that road like the back of my hand. He's like, it's always muddy. We're always having problems out there, blah, 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 whatever, right? And I'm like, dang, bro. So I'm like, what's good? Can you help me? Like, whatever. And this man says, he's like, yeah, I got all these parts out right now. He was like, I'll give you a call back when I'm done torquing these head bolts.
Torquing these head bolts? I
got a real rebuilding a full engine. I'm like, you can't put the torque wrench down and come. You can't come. What the? But he said, just get it. He said, send me a picture, send me your location. He's like, I know where you're at, but send me your exact pin or whatever. And he's like, when I get done doing this, I'll give you a call back. Never heard from him.
God, dog.
40 minutes go by. I try to call again. No, it ain't going through. I'm like, oh, dang. He probably was too many, Miller Lights in, rebuilding his engine in his garage.
Facts.
And so there was no help with that. So it's getting dark. Mind you, it's dark now. Sun has hit the horizon. And I'm like, dang, so I ain't got no other options. I'm going to be living in this car, live for tonight, or I'm going to have to abandon it and get an Uber back. But then that's just too much. That's too much. Take an Uber from where I'm at, cost all that money. I'm out here trying to do something for a specific reason. I definitely don't have $1,000 to bring a backhoe out here or an excavator.
No, facts.
So I'm like, dang, all right, all bad. So, boom. I'm like, dang, I got to push it on foot. So I walked probably like a mile, like down the rest of this dirty, muddy road to like a main road. And mind you, this main road is still just like a little 2-lane country road. Like it just happens to have some cars going by it every now and again. And there's literally one house, bro. It was God, bro. To God be the glory. Cause it was one house at the end of this road cause it was night, that this dude was working in his garage, like, and I could see the lights from down the way. So I walked up to him, and I was like, hey man, I was like, I don't mean to, because I'm in the middle of nowhere, too. You know how it is out here. Everybody got guns. Everybody is a little skeptical, especially with everything going on in the world. And I'm like, hey, man, from like probably 20 feet away, I'm like, yo. I'm like, I'm stuck in the mud. I'm like, bro, you are the only house over here. You are the only place, the only salvation. And I'm like, I don't know if you have a pickup truck. And as soon as after I told him I'm stuck in the mud, I was like, I don't know if you have a pickup truck or a truck that can get me unstuck. All you hear is the double click of his keys, and you hear this dang 4x4 Dodge Ram start up in the background. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes.
He said, I thought you never asked.
Bro, I swear to God. I'm like, yes. I'm like, bro. I'm like, thank you so much. He was like, yeah, just let me get a strap or whatever, tow rope. And we hop in, and mind you, I'm covered in mud, bro. I'm like, this dude he got a nice cowboy boots on, dress shirt and pants. Like, he was ready. He was ready for the action, bro. He hopped in. He was like, yeah, don't worry about it. And we drive down back to the country road, not too far away. And he dang near gets stuck in his truck. But, that 4-wheel drive, I don't know something about it. They got up out of there.
For sure.
And, man, put that strap and drug me all the way through that mud, all the way to the main road. And blessed me, bro, because I'm telling you, it was all bad. I'm in a Nissan Altima. I'm doing Altima activities, DoorDash, and it's typical, bro. Like, it was all bad. But, man, the car survived. I got the dude's number, man. I'm going to plan on, like, maybe we'll grill or kick it or something, because it ain't nothing but God, bro, because that was, like,
that's crazy.
No light at the end of the tunnel type of situation.
That's funny. He said, I made a friend. Right,
I made a friend, bro. I got a real friend.
That's insane.
Yeah, bro.
Nah, Bro, I think about scenarios like that because you know you end up in the middle of nowhere, especially with like delivery or picking up people, and it's like one of
Yeah,
those where it's like the map is going to tell you how to get there, but it seems like the map is just like, oh yeah, we're going to direct you to get stuck, so have a ball,
bro. It. I guess the moral of the story is just because the order was 25 don't mean it's always worth it.
man. Listen, I tell you, that's definitely the preface of the episode. Like, bro, just because the bag is there, don't accept it. Like, come
Yeah,
on,
bro. Not
bro.
all money is good money.
So for this last story that I'm gonna give y'all before I go ahead and sign this one off, man, this one's kind of a interesting story that I put myself in. Now, the one thing I'm a little too lounged up right now. So this last story that I'm gonna give y'all before I sign this one off here, this one was kind of one of those stories that turned out started out normal, but turned out to be an interesting excursion that I would have never thought that I had myself involved in, bro. So I picked up this passenger out in Moore, and you know, like I always say, bro, these long distance rides tend to be my favorite ones. And from this, in this particular scenario, I picked up this dude from Moore, and we're taking him out to Guthrie. Now, in this particular drop off, I was actually taking him out to the Job Corps campus that's out in Guthrie. Now, for those of you guys who are not, you know, aware of what Job Corps is just basically like you could call it like a technical school, but you kind of live there on campus. Cause you know, it's a little bit of I guess you could call a second chance place. So, you know, go ahead and, you know, keep that in the back of your brain while you're listening to this one, bro. So pick up this young guy. Him and I, you know, we kind of just start conversing. We just go right to it, bro. Start breaking the ice, and him and I just start talking. And so I asked him, I'm like, hey, bro, so we're going out to the Job Corps, right? He was like, yes, sir, man. And he was like, bro, he was like, you ever been out there? And I was like, nah, bro. I was like, I've never been out to Guthrie, so this is about to be a first time. And he was like, oh, okay, that's what's up. He was like, you're not really missing much, man. He was like, definitely ain't no bitch ass Job Corp. I can tell you that much. But yeah, bro. He was like, that's where we're headed out to, bro. So I started asking him, like, so, you know, what do you go there for? And he was like, well, bro, he was like, I'm actually going there so I can get a degree in culinary. He was like, I started out working in like restaurants, you know, started working in the kitchen, like being like a cook and whatnot. And I started to realize like how much of a passion that I had for like making food. So it's like usually on the weekends, I get a chance to kind of come back home and I can show like everybody all the new recipes and stuff that I learned while I was in school. And it also just gives me an opportunity to kind of just express myself. So I was like, yeah, bro. I'm like, that's what's up. And he was like, yeah. He was like, but really, all in all, he was like, I really just came out here to come and visit the family. He was like, you know, being that we live out in Moore, I went to school out here. He's like, you know, I get a chance to see all my friends and all that other jazz. So he's like, I like making the trip out here. I was like, nah, I feel it. He's like, but it's going to be way better whenever I finally get me a car. I could tell you that much, man. And so from there, as soon as like, hey, bro, so like, do you like doing Uber and Lyft, bro? Like, I'm thinking about like, once I get my car, I'm probably going to start doing some shit like this too. And I'm like, oh, for real? I'm like, yeah, bro, you know, Uber and Lyft is pretty cool, bro. And I'm like, you're your own boss. So you get a chance, you can make your own schedule. You can work as long as you want, up to like 12 hours. And they're like, oh, okay, that's what's up. And so what was kind of funny, as always, had a little bit of music playing in the background. And as the music was playing in the background, he was like, hey, bro, he was like, you listen to some NBA Youngboy Twin? Is that NBA Youngboy playing in the speakers? You're like, come on, Twin, don't be shy. He was like, turn that shit up. I like NBA Youngboy too. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so, you know, turn up the music a little bit. And he was like, dang. He was like, you got like Apple Music? You got Spotify? And I was like, I got Apple Music. He was like, oh, snap. He was like, you got this one song? He was like, can you play this one song? He was like, is it cool if I make um he was like, is it cool if I make a request for you to play something? I was like, yeah, bro, that's cool. So he starts making requests of music that he wanted me to play as we're making this trip. And, you know, being that we were going to be in the car for a while, it didn't really bother me that much. But what I also thought was so funny is that he requested me to start playing certain songs per his request. And in the middle of the song playing, he had a big old like studio over the ear headphones. And then he put them on and started playing music of his own. And I was like, what the hell was the point of you asking me to play certain songs if you were going to start playing music of your own? But you know what? Whatever, you know, that's what you want to do. It didn't really matter to me that he wasn't going to be talking the entire time. So it was just like a good feeling to know that, like, okay, I have the free reigns to listen to whatever. So as we're getting further and further down the trip, he popped his little headphone out and he would like ask me, like, hey, bro, he was like, how far are we? How far are we from Guthrie? And so, like, I'm like, oh, we're about 25 minutes out. And he's like, all right, bet. And he put his headphones back on and he'd go back to his phone or whatever. So, closer and closer that we're getting to Guthrie, as we're getting off the freeway to get on the exit to go towards Guthrie, he was like, oh, snap. He was like, so we're almost there, right? I was like, yeah, yes, sir. We're almost there, bro. And so he takes his headphones off, and that's when he gets right back into conversation. And so he starts asking me, like, hey, bro, you ever been out here, man? And I was like, nah, bro, this is the first time I ever been to Guthrie. He was like, oh, okay. He was like, you're not really missing much. And I was like, I can tell. I can tell, man. He's like, yeah, bro, it's kind of shit out here. And he was like, but I only go out here just for Job Corps. That's the only reason I stay out here. He's like, before I came to Job Corps, I had never been to Guthrie before. He was like, so yeah, bro, you're not missing much, which, didn't surprise me whatsoever, bro. So as we're driving down the road after getting off the freeway, he had this plastic bag that he got in the car with, but it didn't cross my mind at all because I assumed that he had some kind of groceries or whatever the case. But as we're going closer and closer down the road, going into Guthrie, he started rummaging through the bag more and more as we're going down the road. And each time that he rummaged through the bag, naturally you're like kind of like looking back to be like, hey, bro, what you got in that bag? But I can't turn my head all the way back to make it all obvious. So I would just look up in the rearview mirror. Mind you, the rearview mirror was like pointed towards him. So every time I looked up, we're making eye contact. And I know that we're making eye contact because every time he rummages through the bag, he would look up in the mirror to see if I was looking back at him. And so after about the third time of me making eye contact, he was like, hey, twin, you ain't got nothing to worry about, bro. I ain't got shit in this bag, man. He's the only thing I got in this bag is a bunch of edibles and weed pens. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like sitting there like, I'm not assuming that you got something in that bag, but you just kept rummaging through it. So, just seeing what's up. He was like, yeah, bro. He was like, shoot, if I'm going to be up here at this Job Corps, man, like I can't be sober, I was like, yeah, I guess I feel it, whatever. And so I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, they let y'all have that on the campus? He's like, fuck no, bro. He was like, they don't let us have this stuff. And so I was like kind of thinking like, how are you going to get it up there? And I'm like thinking like, oh, he probably stuffed it in his bag. And so like the closer that we're getting to Job Corps, and I kind of have like these questions, but he just continued talking. Like he didn't just say like, I can't take it on campus. He was like telling me like, yeah, bro. So like once we get a little bit closer to like the campus, I'm going to have you like make a detour to go towards our building. And then I'm going to drop it off over there. Cause like they check our bags when we go in. And I was like, okay. He was like, yeah. So since they check our bags, like I'm going to have you like drop me off over there and I'm going to drop the bag off on the other side of the fence and then we'll figure it out. And I was like, okay, whatever. So go get towards the campus. And he has me make this little detour. We turn and he was like, all right. He was like, I'm going to tell you where to stop because my building is about like right over here on this corner. He's like, yeah, right here is good. So stop the car, put it in park. Mind you, Job Corps is in the middle of nowhere. Like it's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Like basically it's like located on like the far side of this neighborhood, one of those proudly overbuilt neighborhoods. And as you're driving through this little neighborhood of houses, it's just like right turn, left turn, right turn, left turn, straight, left turn, right turn, go around the median, all this other jazz. And as we're getting over there, the detour that he had me make was like going towards all the front side of like a block of houses. So it's dark. It's like late. I want to say it was like 7 or 8 o'clock on like a Wednesday night. So a car randomly stopping in front of somebody's house, but not directly in front of the house, across the street on the side of the campus just looks suspicious to me. But I was just like, as long as he makes this quick, it's whatever. I don't really care at this point. So he gets out the car and he runs towards the fence. And I saw him. It was so funny. It was like a detective movie. He ran towards the fence and he was like, and he just chucked the bag over the fence. And I was just like, bro, what the hell? And he's like, all right, bro. And he like runs back to the car. And he's like, yeah, bro, you can go ahead and drop me off up front. And he was like, because they got to check me in anyways. And so I was like, okay. So we go around the front. Mind you, I can't go through the fence. I basically had to drop him off right there at the check-in spot. And so he got out of the car. He pulled all his bags out. And when he pulled his bag out, the person at the front, the security guard, he dropped the bag and he unzipped it and started, rummaging through his bag. And I was kind of like thinking like, damn, okay. So he wasn't joking. They really do go through your stuff. So I started to like ponder and think like, so if you got caught with this shit on this in your bag, like you could get kicked out for this type of stuff. So I'm like starting to think like, I know like people come here to like change their lives, so to say, and make better choices. But it like brought me back to like another story that I heard from a friend of mine to where it's like, yeah, you can have this opportunity to change your life, but if you still have the same mindset, all that other stuff is out the window, bro. So like a homie of mine, he actually went to Job Corps as well. And he told me, he was like, yeah, bro. He was like, I went to Job Corps for a day. And I was like, oh, for real? I was like, for a day? I was like, what happened? Like, what you mean you only went for a day? And he was like, yeah, bro. He was like, so, I was bouncing, in and out. I got kicked out of a couple schools or whatever. And, my mom was just like, you still need to graduate. So, we're going to send you up to Job Corps. So, at least get you out of the city. And, you can go into something to get a skill, get a certificate, and then you could get a job and go from there. So he told me, he was like, I get dropped off at the Job Corps. They check me in. They give me a dorm room. And he was like, my roommate that I had in the dorm, he ended up being from the city as well. So him and I like hit it off. And, we're talking about like, oh, you from what part of the city? I'm from this part, whatever, whatever. And he was like, so my roommate, he takes me out into the area, the commons area where like everybody goes to like hang out or whatever. And he's like, mind you, he was like, my roommate and I, we're both black. And so he met me up with like a couple of the other people on campus. And, we're all sitting there mobbing. He was like, it's about 5, 6 of us. And he said, out of nowhere, this random country white dude, and I can't remember what town he was from, but I guess it was his first day on campus too. And he said that the country white dude walked into the room. And it's about six black men in there. And the one white dude walks in and he decides to announce his presence by making a racist remark to everybody in the room. And he walks in the room and he says, dang, man, it sure is a whole lot of blank in here. And my homie told me, he said, I looked at my roommate and we all looked at each other in a group of us. And he said, well, we just started packing this stupid ass out, like right there in the middle of the commons room. And I was dying laughing. I was like, so what happened? He's like, they kicked me out. They kicked me out. He said, as soon as they broke the shit up, they said, oh, you just started here today. Yeah, go ahead and get your bags. We're going to call your mom. She's going to come pick you up, man. And he was like, so I was like, so what happened with your mom? So he was just like, my mom already knew. And I told her the situation as to what happened. And she wasn't mad at all. Cause it was just like, dude was being racist and decided like that was the first thing that he was going to say. And I guess he was from like a small town or whatever, the white dude. So, you just say whatever. But at the same time, like when you put yourself in a lot of these situations to where you're trying to get to a destination, you're trying to get to a goal, you have to make sure that you overlook everything as an entirety. So it's very important that like, even though you're going into like the unfamiliar territories or you're going on routes to where like you typically are not familiar, it's always a good skill and a good task for you to make sure that you check over all the checkpoints before going to this destination. Now, excluding Job Corps, because, you're going to be around a multitude of people and anybody can say anything and anything can pop off at a moment's notice. So you have to be able to have either like a certain type of self-control or just to be able to have that mastery of skill to not allow words to affect you. But to a certain extent, in that context of that story, I would have packed bro out too. Like 1000%, bro. I definitely would have packed bro out too. Like that was one of those moments where I was like, okay, that's completely understandable, bro. Like I definitely would have done the same. So I don't blame you whatsoever. Don't blame you at all. So in a moment like that, excluding that, everything else is like a reminder of like, hey, when you are going towards this destination of a future path that you are trying to create, when you're going to a destination as far as just trying to get from point A to point B, it's always good to kind of look over the small checkpoints in life. Whether it's checkpoints on the map, whether it's checkpoints in life when you're trying to reach a goal, you always have to make sure that you're going through those checkpoints and going through the hoops successfully. If you decide to take the path without going through all the checkpoints successfully, sure, you'll be able to reach the goal. But if you get something quicker, the quicker you get it is the quicker you lose it, man. So it's very important that if you're going to make sure that you take the time out to go on a certain roadmap, to go on a certain destination, it's very important to comb through everything with a very fine comb, man. Because you never know what you are going to encounter, whether it's going to be a dirt road, whether it's going to be a gravel road, or whether it's going to be that fence that stops you and makes people rummage through your bags before you get to this destination, bro. It's very important that you are taking all the necessary steps to get through those checkpoints in the way that you can reach your goal with no fault or no halting at all, man. So that's all I'm going to give y'all for today's episode, man. But of course, as always, man, if you are not following me, that at itymd.podcast, which is going to be on Instagram, that's on YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Music Podcasts, and everywhere else that you can enjoy podcasts at. Of course, if you got any stories and you just want to type it up, man, that email, itymd.podcast@gmail.com, man. So this is Ricky Montoya, a.k.a. the fullest of all bears, signing off, man. And I do thank everybody for tuning in to me, man.
Going too fast, 150 on a dash, bitch keep up, please don't crash. That's 5-0 on your ass, don't get stuck. My shit black.